Dillon Gabriel, University of Oregon. Welcome to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Thank you so much. It's going to be fun.
Congratulations on being named a Heisman finalist. What was it like finding out that you were one of the 4 finalists coming to New York City?
Yeah, I found out in the car in Vegas at the Campbell Awards show, and it was a big smile on my face knowing that I'm representing a bunch of great guys and the year we've had thus far. Yeah. So it was special, and it's a special time, so I don't take it lightly. And the connections you can make and the people you meet along the way is special.
Was that something you had as a goal in mind, getting to New York at least during before the season started?
It wasn't necessarily a goal because my goals I think were built a little differently. But knowing, if I accomplish my goals and do it the right way, you'll sit right where you need to be, and I was confident in that. And you look, I was focused on winning, and I'm right where I should be. So I think more importantly, you just appreciate the journey and not what you get from it, but who you become and how it sets you up for the future.
You haven't been in Eugene that long. How has it been living in Oregon versus living in Norman and Orlando?
Super different. I think Orlando was most alike Hawaii and the tropical. That's why I think as a high schooler, I definitely picked there. At least was a part of why I picked there. And then, I think in Oklahoma, gosh, that thing can go from 80 to 20 degrees within a short amount of time. So that weather was probably like the most culture shock. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to Eugene, it's just like always pretty consistent. It's like in that 40, 60 range. Right. There may be some drizzle in the winters and spring, but summers are beautiful. So you appreciate all the differences, but I do miss that warm, sunny days.
What about the fan bases? Very, all kind of pretty intense in their own ways. What are the differences in those 3 fan bases?
I would say UCF and Oregon are the most similar in terms of, used to innovation. Innovation's kind of the culture. Mm-hmm. So new things excite them, and fans love, football. So I would say those 2 are pretty similar. And I think Oklahoma was interesting. It was like historic, and the history is what, people still pride themselves on. And, it is a little old school in that sense, but great people as well. But definitely, 2 different environments, I would say.
Sure. I heard you talking to Cam Ward when in the reception yesterday. You were talking about the Big 12 and their styles. I wanted to ask you about you were in the AAC, Big 12, now the Big 10, but Oregon is always is formerly a Pac-12 team, and it's always been, like you talked about, innovative in offense. And Scott Frost wasn't your coach, but Heupel was, and he kind of took over the same kind of style, which Frost had at Oregon. So there's a connection there. What was the difference like in the just the offensive schemes that you took part in and that you saw in those in the 3 conferences?
Yeah, I'll say in the AAC and the Big 12, I think I've truly been around the most creative coaches, and that's playing with or playing against, and that's offensively and defensively. So, and that's because they've had to evolve, right, with all these things that people are doing nowadays. But I would say that was definitely, creatively the most unique, schemes I've been around and seen. And I think the Big 10 was probably like the most NFL ready in terms of scheme and thought process. So thank goodness it's towards the back end, so I can learn that and grow in that way. But I think you take those experiences from when you're younger and how to conceptualize different concepts and how to think outside the box, which I love because a guy we watch, shout out Dan Casey, he's always obsessed with these new schemes and the execution of it, and people, try to, replicate certain plays or have their own little twist, which, makes it unique.
Oregon's one of the schools. There's a few other schools that really rely on the portal a lot. And I'm curious, like from an offensive standpoint, offenses generally need more time to grow together, and as opposed to defenses where it's schemes a little bit easier to pick up, whereas offense is a little more complex, right? So when you have new guys in your offense, like say you got whatever 5 different new guys who've come from another school. Is it hard to create that level of continuity and cohesion that you have with an offense? And does it take like a process over the course of a year kind of thing?
That's why I believe football's been the way it's been. You know, it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, and defensive players and defenses in general have been better because, you know, there is a disconnect on offense, and like it's true, and it's a lot more evident now because of all the change.
There's been a drop in offensive production, hasn't there, the last few years?
Yeah,
because of this.
and it's been so much more competitive.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the best, it's the combination of the best players playing at all levels. You know, so if that top program has good players behind, they're going to go play somewhere right away.
Right.
So the best players are playing all across college football, and then 2, there's a disconnect between players.
Sure.
You know, and that's why if you fight for connection, you can have success. Right. Because and it has to be at the forefront, because now people are having 30, 40 player overhauls, and you know you have to make it your own. You know, each year's its own DNA, and how do you make that team your own? So I think coaches are having challenges with that. Definitely players, like right when I got to Oklahoma, we didn't have a great year.
Yeah.
And then that year 2, you see a team that a lot of people came back.
Right.
So the continuity's there, the you know, like the confidence in scheme, the familiarity with players. So there's a lot that goes with it, but more than anything, I think this is going to just prepare us for the NFL.
For sure, yeah. It's because it's become more like the NFL in that regard, right? Yeah, I was always curious about how you seem to have really thought about this whole thing.
For
right?
sure.
And I guess being at 3 different places, you've had to deal with, like, you probably have to, as the quarterback, you look to as a leader, so you've got to like get everybody together. And
little personal self-scout. You know, how do you get better from stop to stop? You know, how does my routine improve? How do I become a better leader?
Yeah.
You know, because the leader I was in 2019 can't be the leader I am now in 2024. And that's not just because of personal growth and evolution.
It was a different sport back then.
It is. Yeah. It is completely different.
That's so fascinating. You came out of Mililani, Hawaii. Only one other Heisman winner came out of Hawaii, Marcus Mariota, who's in his 10th anniversary here for the Heisman. He's not coming here this weekend because he's got to play in the NFL. What kind of impact did him winning the Heisman have on guys like yourself playing in Hawaii, whether youth football or high school? Was it's a big thing?
Yeah, he was definitely the trailblazer at the quarterback position. You know, I think we've, as athletes, you know, had like Manti, DeForest Buckner, right? All these players, and there's more I'm forgetting, but now when you see a quarterback just like you do it, you know, that's a direct impact to a quarterback. Sure. And more than just myself, he motivated and inspired so many, you know, athletes because of how he did what he did, you know, and he was a great example of that. And that's more than just the sport of football. So we appreciate him, and I think at a young age I look at him and see a guy who's took advantage of his opportunity. You know, and born and raised in Hawaii, just like me, plays the quarterback position, went to Oregon. How special is it now? You know, I'm wearing the number 8, 10 years later, playing at Oregon in Autzen. Things that you used to watch. So as a kid, my heart's smiling. But, you know, I've appreciated that this whole, you know, time for sure.
Have you been able to forge any kind of relationship with Marcus at all? Or?
I have. We're very close, and, you know, he's a mentor. He's a guy that, you know, I reach out when needed, right? But he's also a guy that just lets you do what you do. And if you have anything, he always says, hey, I'm always here. Yeah. And I think just knowing that allows you to, you know, be free of like, hey, if I have a question or anything, and I know our moms definitely text back and forth for
nice.
sure. So
well, you're about halfway through Heisman weekend. You have the Friday, and then now Saturday coming up. It's kind of a whirlwind. You're getting asked a million questions. Probably tired of answering a lot of them.
No, I love it. I love this part of it.
Yeah?
I love this part of it.
That's great. Well, I was hoping to ask you some stuff that a lot of people, you know, don't ask you about.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, no, I think we've already done a lot of it. I think talking about but I wanted to ask you, what's been the highlight so far?
Well, I'll say this, and I can keep it off the record because, you know, it's what we talked about. Last night, you know, I'm not shy. I hit up Cam Newton. I'm like, hey, bro, like, can we connect, whatever. I'm like, have me on the pod, right? 4th and 1.
Sure.
We got lost in communication. He thought I had my own pod. Anywho, we didn't end up having a podcast. But we sat there, and I remember getting there at like 10 or 11. And then I look up, I'm like, dang, I need to go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, but we sat there for 4 or 5 hours just talking. And
amazing.
And you appreciate that because there's, you know, he said it best. There's, you know, when you're around him, there's questions that you don't even think you'd ask. And just being around him, you get to ask that. So I appreciate that. And what a great conversation. Yeah. What a great time to have. And just a great human being.
Yeah.
And he's got so much knowledge that he wants to share, you know, but are you asking the right questions? And
right.
Yeah, we had a blast.
Actually, one thing I do want to ask you is going to 3 schools. So 30 years from now, when you're doing your reunion, I mean, you pop into all 3 of them? Or
I love that you said that. No, nobody even said that. But gosh, that's a great question. I initially, when I was at, you know, UCF, I'm like, Mom, like, and making the decision to transfer, I'm like, Mom, I want to be able to bring my kids back. You know, I do, and this is hypocritical a little bit, but I did want to stay at one spot, you know, and it be my home. But, you know, I thought, how cool is it? Now I get to go to 3 different spots and all the connections and friends I have. It's like, now I can take the wife and kids to, you know, Orlando, Norman, and Eugene, and we'll just make our way back.
3 different networks that you can draw from as well,
100%, right? 100%.
We got the ceremony coming up tonight. You're going to be on live TV in front of millions. You're used to playing in front of millions with your helmet on, kind of, you know, amongst your whole team, a little bit more anonymous, but now it's going to be big spotlight, TV show. You're probably going to have the rehearsal here in a little bit to go over there and figure out what you're going to do. Are you nervous about tonight at all?
I'm built for it. You know, I'm confident because of my preparation, who I am. You know, when the lights come on, I'm the same guy when the lights turn off. So I ain't got to be anyone I'm not. And that gives me extreme confidence of embracing the moment, loving every second of it. And, you know, however this thing goes, I'm representing my team.
Yeah.
You know, and that's with great honor. I love those guys and know how much time and effort we put into this thing. So I'm going to smile. I'm going to have a good time. And, you know, Dan Fitzpatrick was giving me a hard time yesterday. But he's a funny old man.
You've got the winner of Tennessee, Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. You've already played Ohio State. What's your preference to play? I mean, you want to play the team, you know, you've already prepared for once, or, you know, do you want somebody fresh, maybe who's not as prepared for you? What's the philosophy on that as you guys get ready?
There's so many pros and cons to both, you know, and I think you could root for a team or like, hey, I want to play this team, but what'll be will be. And I think having a great plan for both, and then once we find out, attacking that, regardless, we're going to play a good team. So that's what we do know. So it's win or go home, and the stakes are high, but you love that.
Yeah.
As a competitor, you love that, you know, part of it. So I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm looking forward to January 1, history in the Rose Bowl. Have
you played there before?
I did against UCLA this year.
Oh, that's right.
So we do have a taste. You know, it's a bit home to us. So we're excited. Like, who wouldn't want to play in that moment? You know,
for sure. You got this great watch from Axia Time last night. You know, the Heisman, they give a lot of swag, but you know, in my years of coming to the Heisman, that's the coolest thing that any of the finalists have gotten. It's pretty cool. What do you think about getting such a cool watch, which is really like, as you step out into your professional career, it's like a good like coming out present to like just have as you, like you growing up, right? You got a real watch now.
For sure. I think it's super cool, and I think the presentation of it, I think you appreciate, you know, the journey, the experience, you know, and that's a item that you can look back on and you just appreciate because you can tell a story, you know, and remember. I feel like items now to me are stories.
Sure.
You know, and this is a huge part of, you know, my whole story. So I'm excited, and you know, I'll definitely be rocking it, but that might have to be one that, you know, stays on the trophy case for the family. Yeah,
you know, it seems like you put a lot of thought into everything you do after your playing career is over. What are you planning on doing? It sounds like you'd be a great broadcaster, communicator, some kind of thing. Is that something in the back of your head one day? Never say never.
You know, I take pride in how I communicate, you know, and it's not about presenting myself in that way. It's just being authentic to who I am. And like I said, confidence is huge, you know, and playing the quarterback position, you got to have it.
Yep.
Because if you don't, how are you going to convince, 10 others to believe in you.
Sure.
When the game's on the line. So that sense of belief, that self-confidence is important to me. And like I said, I'll never say never.
Right.
We'll see what happens. And I kind of like the unknown.
Right.
I've gotten more comfortable with not knowing what's going to happen in the future, because I'm here's to say this: I've been trying to adopt this mentality. Tomorrow's not real; it's fictional.
Sure. Only the present, right?
And it's so easy to say. We're like, oh, dude, but once you truly adopt it, you maximize the day.
Right.
And people are like, hey, do you want to do this? And I'm like, gosh,
do you break down
I don't know if
your
I'll do it tomorrow.
Do you break down your day into smaller moments and then break that down into smaller moments?
I do.
Yeah.
And the routine to me is huge, and but if I can't do it tomorrow, right? And it's something like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to do it today. I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
Like, how can I walk away from a conversation with Cam?
Yeah.
I'm going to sit in that moment,
awesome.
and I'm going to embrace and enjoy it, because all that knowledge, or if I get to enjoy this podcast with you, what if these are my last words? I don't know. Right?
Great point. Great
so
point. Very
I want to leave a long-lasting impact and give everything I got, and I think that's because, I'm self-aware of what I want. I got a clear vision of what I want to do, what I want to accomplish. So I'm just full steam ahead.
For sure. We're hoping to have you on during the year. We're glad we finally did get you on. It's worth the wait. Good luck tonight. Good luck against whoever you play in the bowl game, and best of luck in the future. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.